Okay, everybody. So for our research essay, our first research essay of the semester, we're going to be doing a research essay based on the Absolutely True Diary of a Part-Time Indian. You're going to be using both primary and secondary sources to write this essay. So basically, a primary source is any document or physical object that is written or created during a historical period. So it's something that's created for the sake of it being created. It's not created as a way to explain or comment. A secondary source is something that interprets or analyzes the information that is given in the primary source. So for example, a primary source would be a painting. A secondary source would be an essay or an article on the painting and its significance. For this essay, you're going to be using your novel as your primary source, and then you're going to be doing some research, and that will act as your secondary sources. The essay is going to focus on how issues surrounding the preservation of identity and culture of the Spokane Indians in the novel compares to what many other First Nations, Métis, and Inuit communities are currently facing in Canada. So really, we're focusing on the idea of identity. How does Junior express his First Nations identity in the story? How is his identity and the identity of his community, how is it threatened? Is it threatened by inequality, poverty, addiction, residential schools, 60 scoop? You can bring in any of those issues that we've spoken about into the essay, okay? So every paragraph is going to have one quotation from the primary source, which is your novel, and one quotation from a secondary source. You have to have 4 secondary sources in total. 1 primary source and 4 secondary sources. If you want to use an additional primary source to act as research in your essay, that's fine, but you still need 4 secondary sources, okay? So in order to write this essay, consider these questions before you start, even before you start doing your research. First of all, this one here. How do characters in the novel preserve their identity? What threats to their identity are present? And 3, how do the events of the novel relate to what is happening or has happened in real life? So what I want you to do is take Alexei's fictional world that he creates in the Absolutely True Diary of a Part-Time Indian, and I want you to compare it to real life situations of many First Nations communities in Canada, and you could talk about communities in the United States as well, since as we've discussed many times, that border between Canada and the US is an imaginary one when we're considering First Nations and boundaries and borders, okay? So once you've considered those questions, you really need to develop a clear thesis based on the idea of preservation of identity, okay? Your thesis should be focused on the novel, but also needs to talk a little bit about some of your research, okay? Overall, your essay is going to consist of 6 paragraphs. It's going to have an introduction, 4 body paragraphs, and a conclusion, okay? Before you even start writing the essay, the first step, step 1, phase 1 if you will, is going to be to complete detailed research notes based on your secondary sources. So you're going to use the internet, books, however you want to do your research, and you are going to base your research notes on the secondary sources. Once you finish the research, then you can start the outline of the essay. I'm going to post another video that's going to explain in detail how to complete the research notes and how to conduct your research. It's also going to give you some good tips on conducting research, okay? And that's all for now.